Hey, good morning, everybody, man. Are you going to start staring at me now or in just a little bit?
Yeah.
It's the cold open, man. You have something? You got it? You good? How are you feeling today?
I feel fantastic.
You look
BJ.
great. You look great.
I feel great.
You feel great. You look great.
It's
You are
good.
great.
Yeah.
There we have it. Welcome. You're listening to the Leading Hope Podcast. My name is VJ Williams, here with my friend and pastor, Kevin Jack. Thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy day to become a better leader. If you're new, we release a new episode every Wednesday. The easiest way to remember that is to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Hit the subscribe button.
What is your favorite podcast platform?
Apple, yeah.
I use Pocket Casts.
Pocket Cast.
Because I can exactly dictate the speed of the podcast.
There you go.
Like Apple, you can do like 1, 1.5, 2.
Okay.
1.5's not fast enough. 2's way too fast.
Got it.
So I can do that. But you shouldn't use Pocket Cast for us because you only need to play us at regular speed.
That's what we've been told.
If you go 1.5,
Regular
it's not going to
speed
work at
on
all.
this podcast. What was it called again?
Pocket Cast.
Pocket Cast.
It's
If
beautiful.
you're listening today, let us know. Maybe we could be featured on your next up-and-coming app release. Anyway, also share about it with a friend on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Rate and review on Apple Podcast.
Or Pocket Cast or wherever.
A few extra minutes will absolutely help get this podcast in the hands of so many more leaders like you. So thanks for that. And visit leadinghope.online to get updates and find out more about the Leading Hope community. Kevin, today, episode 9-1 as we continue the narrative of
First day of
storytelling.
September.
Ready?
Ready.
Connect the dots.
Connect the dots.
Connect the dots.
Hey, so the content we're going to jump into today lives on 3 key ideas that build on belief really can. I know some people always like oversell stuff. I believe it transforms. What transforms? Yeah, transforms how you lead. And not just that, if you look at it carefully, it transforms how you make decisions and how you assign meaning to things in your life. So as we're continuing this long discussion on storytelling, the idea today is connect the dots. And here is idea number 1, and that is this. We don't naturally assign meaning to things in our life. We don't naturally assign meaning to things in our life. Our tendency is to go from activity to activity to activity with a lack of clarity on why this matters, the impact that it's making, and the future that it's creating. This is why people do things like keep food diaries, because they want to be able to trace how they feel to what they ate. This is why we wear fitness trackers and things like that. This is why people keep, we're not even getting into that for today. We already touched on that. This is why people keep like 5-year journals, because the tendency is to live at such a relentless pace that you just go from thing to thing to thing. And so this is my note here. We live in what, okay? Air quotes, what. We live in what. Leadership is about why and where. We live in activity of what is happening. Leadership is about the purpose behind it and the direction you're headed, meaning the future that you're creating. And so we acknowledge, first off, there is a disconnect between our current activity and our overall impact. There is a disconnect between what we're doing and where it leads to in our lives. And so here's my belief, and this is why what we're getting into today is so important. You have, in general, an idea of what kind of life you want to live. You may not have written it down. You may not call it a vision statement or goals or anything like that. But if someone said like, hey, what type of life are you trying to create? You may not be able to spit it out right away, but you would be able to come up with, this is the future that I'm seeking. This is the life that I'm seeking to create, the impact that I'm seeking to make. And you can't get there all at once. Like, there is no way you can have a lifetime of success in a single moment. There is no way in a relationship you can have a lifetime of memories that happens in a single day, okay? In order to achieve what you seek to do over a lifetime, you need smaller steps. You need single moments that contribute to that. This is why understanding that disconnect between activity and impact is so important. If I were to just ask you, like, hey, what did you already do today? You could probably rattle it off because it's earlier in the day. If I ask you at like 9 p.m. later in the day, say, what'd you do today? My guess is you'd have to pause. What did I do today? Like, what did I actually go through? And then if I asked you, and why does it matter? What difference does it make? My guess is that you would draw a blank. This is true in all of us. Like, I'll sit down at the dinner table and I'll ask my kids, I'll go, what'd you guys do in school? They go,
Yep.
nothing. Liar. What did you do? And then they'll turn it back on me. They go, what'd you do at work? And I go, I don't know. What did I do?
Liar.
Yeah. They go, well, does it matter? And so this becomes your job, is to connect the dots. So here's idea number 2. Your role as a leader is to connect the dots. Your role is to connect the impact between the individual activity to the overall vision. Your role as a leader is to connect what you're currently doing to where it heads and what it leads. If I could give like technical terms for a second, it is your job is to take the single story and show the context of it within the larger meta narrative. It's to take the individual scene and to say, no, this individual scene does not live on its own because that is not a story. This individual scene is part of this much bigger, larger thing going on. So let me talk a couple examples on this real quick. So like church examples. If we have like a win, that's how we describe it as a team. If we have a story of something incredible that's happened, to simply tell the story is not enough. You must connect it to who we are as a people in terms of our identity by our values. You've got to connect it to the overall vision and where we're headed. Like, you don't celebrate just the single moment. You have to connect it to the larger picture of what's taking place. So this last spring break, our family, for the first time, we took a spring break trip down to Clearwater, Florida. Our kids loved it. We had a blast. As we're going through that trip, different things are happening. I, as a dad, did a great job of connecting the dots because I was able to say things like, listen, we take trips like this because we want the 4 of you not just to exist in the same household, but to like each other and to have memories you can point back to that makes your relationship stronger even as adults. What I'm doing is I'm imparting vision to my kids. I'm sharing this larger picture of where we're headed and using single scenes in order to do that. If you don't connect the dots, you will succumb to mindless activity. You don't know which activities are actually leading to results, and you'll have a lack of purpose in everything. V, I can keep going into idea 3, or do you want to stop here at all?
No, I want to keep here. I want to hear the final thought.
Okay, so here's idea number 3. So we've talked about idea 1, we don't naturally assign meaning to our activities. Idea 2, your role as a leader is to connect the dots. We mean to assign meaning to the activities, to assign the small moment, to name how it fits into this bigger picture, bigger vision, identity, values, all those things. Now, here's idea number 3, is that when you connect the dots, you'll begin eliminating the dots that don't connect. Oh, this is where this is so powerful and so important. Okay, when you understand, like when this becomes habitual, you naturally do this. When your kid gets homework and gets a good grade, and you can say not just good job, bad job, but you can say, this is why this matters in what you're learning. When you take a trip, when you hear a success thing and you naturally assign it meaning, you're naturally connecting the dots. The thing that you will intuitively be able to do is you'll begin to see and eliminate the dots that don't connect. So for organizations, typically this is a once a year thing. They do a debrief or an audit, or this happens in the budgeting process or any of these other things. And we start realizing, hey, this thing over here, it doesn't really matter. This thing over here, it's not really making a difference. This thing over here isn't really getting the results that we want it to. And so when you begin to connect the dots, what you're doing is you're living a real-time audit without all the pain of going through an audit. I don't know anyone. I apologize if you're an auditor and this is what you do, but I don't know anyone else who's like, we're going to do an audit. Woo! Come on, we're pumped. And so you're able to audit your life and the activities you're engaged in without going through that process. And this is how it works. You'll have a single scene, a win, a good moment, maybe even a bad moment, something like that. And your brain has naturally been wired to connect the small thing to the larger thing. And if you can't do that, if you can't see how this single activity contributes to your vision, your values, your identity, or the future you want to create, then you're able to go, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
If this doesn't connect, this dot, this activity, this program, tool, team, whatever it is, has no business being in my life, okay? You wire your brain to think purpose first, to think future focused. And when you do that, when you get used to connecting the dots habitually, you begin to naturally see the dots that don't actually lead the direction you want it to go. You begin to see the activities that don't connect to that future, and you are able to eliminate it. So, 3 ideas. We don't naturally assign meaning. Your role as a leader is to connect the dots, to assign that meaning. And when you connect the dots, you'll begin eliminating the dots that don't connect.
Woo!
Oh, it's fun.
This powerhouse
I love this
today.
one.
And yeah, you weren't kidding. You're coming in hot today. The fact that this applies in so many areas of our lives
of it.
cannot be understated.
Yeah.
And no more for the leader who might be watching today, like myself, who sometimes is spinning their wheels going, why is it not all making sense?
Yeah.
Like,
It makes sense in my head.
yeah.
Why doesn't it make sense in
your
your
head?
head?
Not else catching on to what's in my head.
If it makes sense in my head and not in anyone else's, then it's your fault, obviously.
And it's because I haven't connected the dots.
Yeah.
I took my own notes, just so
Oh,
you know.
good.
So
Look at
I didn't
this.
change much there, but I put, I must assign
Yeah.
meaning.
And I think one of the things, if we would just talk about like leadership-wise on this for a second, and when I say leadership, hear me clearly. Like someone was joking with us the other day. They said, this turned more into a parenting family podcast. Okay, we want it to be every environment that you live in. If you don't feel like you have momentum in your life, if you don't feel like you have momentum in your organization, in your family, in your relationships, any of these other things, my guess is that it's not that there isn't anything good taking place. It's that you're not noticing the good things that are taking place and assigning meaning to them. You're just letting them pass in and out, and so you're not seeing how they're actually contributing to the future you want to create.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to encourage everybody to take notes because I'm certainly taking notes today. And I put, I must assign meaning. Like I have to do that.
Have to.
Otherwise, it's dead on arrival.
Yep, absolutely.
And then I put, I must take the single story and tie it to the much bigger picture.
Yep.
I must do that. And then the last thing I just put, when I realize that I'm connecting the dots, I will begin to declutter the process and no longer be distracted by the things that don't matter.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That's it. I mean, that's for me. I've got to start today.
Yeah.
Start today.
And so I view it as like the one of the prime spots this lives within our church is when we share stories. And to go, don't just share a story and celebrate a story. Say why it matters.
Yeah.
Say what it's leading to. But I even had this yesterday. My son Parker, he's 4. He's got a loose tooth. Man, he'd been nursing that thing for a month. Like, I'm not kidding. This tooth is about to fall out of his mouth.
Yep.
And so we begged him. We pleaded with him. We're like, dude, just let me pull it. Come here, just for a second. Got creative. Tie a string to it. We'll put it on a golf club, something like that. I don't care. We'll do something. Like, something to get this out of your mouth. And he's freaking out.
Yeah.
He's crying. He's yelling. He's screaming. And so finally, after much frustration, we left him alone. We're like, whatever, man. We're done. I'm just kidding. We weren't that harsh on there. But his older sister, Maddie, comes in, talked to him for like 2 minutes. He goes in the bathroom, grabbed a piece of toilet paper, yanks it out. So he comes down. I don't just say, good job, man, on losing your tooth.
Right.
I say, hey, you showed you were really brave today and that you were willing to be courageous about going through a little bit of pain in order to get where you want to go. And I want you to always remember that you can be courageous to go through a little bit of pain and uncomfort to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
It works with a 4-year-old, okay? Yeah. If it works with a 4-year-old, It works with everyone.
That's exactly right.
Put that in your notes. If it works with a 4-year-old, it works with everyone. Go ahead, Vic.
Yeah, Jonathan says state why it matters. That's so good. And then also Simon John wanted to make sure that you knew that he was on.
What's up, Simon John? Thank you for logging in, man.
All the way from Pakistan.
Yeah.
Thanks, Simon John. If you guys have any questions, now's a great time to throw those in the chat. This is a really good episode to ask questions. But man, with all that you've said here today, what is of those 3 steps, it seems like we struggle the most with assigning meaning from the get-go.
Yeah.
And I think it's because sometimes we're like, well, they already know that, right?
Absolutely.
I've been working with them for a year.
Yeah.
Like, they already know. Like, they're good on the meaning. I can skip step 1 and move to step 2 and 3. I've worked with them for 10 years. They know.
Yeah.
But nothing has changed. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk more about that. Why that assigning the meaning, even if you've been working with someone X amount of time, that it's good to restate the meaning.
Yeah. Well, I would say it like this: view it not as, and I say this very, very seriously and empathetically. Don't view it as your people are dumb and they don't get it.
Right.
Don't view it as your team is slow, and so it's taken them a while to catch on. You forget to assign meaning. Like, you forget why the things that you do matters. And so you have to be intentional about doing that for yourself, of just going, are the activities of my day contributing to the future that I'm doing? Because one of the biggest signs of people who are happy is their life is infused with purpose. We could spend a year on this.
That's right.
To say, like, one of the biggest signs of joy in someone's life is their life is infused with purpose, not because their activities are more meaningful than the rest of us, but they're aware of why they're meaningful. So if you struggle with this and you're leading it, they're going to struggle with it.
Yeah, that's great.
And so what you do is you are graceful enough to give them the gift that you show them why this matters, so you're not just leaving it up to them to assign that meaning to it.
That's fantastic. Actually, Heather Rogers just chimed in a little bit ago, and she leads our guest experience team here at Be Hope. She said, constantly connecting the meta-narrative makes it easier for my team to let go of those dots that don't connect. Change becomes less scary when it's connected to something larger.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
good. I love that she connected the scary and the change, because
Yeah.
those are so well known to leaders as, I don't want to change anything because it's scary. Connect the dots, make it simpler.
Let me add in here. Val made the comment, and I'm really grateful for this comment, Val. One of the hardest things for me as a stay-at-home mom is finding purpose.
Ooh,
I would say that is really. I have not been there, but I could understand why that would be so difficult, because it just feels like activity after activity after activity. And if you're not really clear on the environment you want to create for your family as a whole, and that you are the tone setter of that, and all those activities create that environment. Like, if I would say it like this: if I wake up frustrated, annoyed, and purposeless, my family doesn't have a chance. Like, my kids, they don't have a chance that day if that's how I wake up in the tone that I'm setting. And I think that's one of the most significant roles as a parent, is not just what you do, but the environment that you create is what your kids will feel and remember more than anything else. And when you're mindful of the environment you're seeking to create, now you have purpose in all those activities.
That is so good, man. You get to set what the reason you're doing what you're doing is for everyone.
Absolutely.
You get to choose how that comes out.
It's so good.
Anything else that you wanted to add today? We're about ready to end episode 9-1, connecting the dots. What do you got?
Yeah, here's my last statement on this. It's just to say, it's only when you connect the smaller wins to the larger picture that you're actually leading. Until then, you're just telling a story. Telling stories matter. Living through good moments and knowing why they matter. That's a good thing, but it's not leadership until you've connected the dots to this larger picture and shown why it matters.
That's awesome, man. That's the end of episode 9-1, Connect the Dots. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're so grateful for each and every one of you guys that join every week, that comment, that participate, and help move this podcast in the hands of more leaders like yourself. If you haven't shared it, go ahead and do that right now. We think it can help people. That's why we do this every week. We're in people development, and that's why we do this. So if you're new to the podcast or haven't yet subscribed, it means the world to us if you did that now. Also, post about it, rate and review. You won't believe how that helps get this podcast in the
And
hands
remember,
of more people just like you. We love hearing your stories of how the
I was trying to
podcast
catch you in the
is
midst of it,
working
and I didn't
in
get it.
life and business. If you have a story, visit leadinghope.online and send that to us. We'd love to hear from you.
and remember, everyone has 20 minutes to become a better leader. Make it count.